Okay Deb, what we've got here is quite an interesting shot. We've got some interesting foreground down here. The tide's retreating, so you've got to be aware of what the water's doing. There's some interesting things happening in the sky over there. Very bright day. Perhaps wouldn't normally be shooting middle of the day, but with the use of filters, we'll show you how we can get over the fact we've got a sky that's going to blow out and we'll lose the highlights. But with the Grad filters and a big stopper, we can make an interesting shot.
So you can utilise all the day then? By
yeah, we can use most of the day. The ideal time is morning and evening, but with the filters, we can maximise our time out on location.
Oh, great.
So what I've done, I've set the camera up, we've got the foreground there. I've done a frame already, I've metered for the foreground, recomposed the camera, and the shot that we have so far, if you look at the back of the camera, is the sky is blown out because we've metered for our foreground, so we need a Grad filter. Okay? The way to decide on which Grad you're going to use, there's 1 stop, 2 stop and 3 stop, and there's soft edge and there's hard edge.
So what would you choose here then?
Hard edge to start with because we've got a nice level horizon, okay, shooting out to sea, lovely level horizon, so hard edge Grad, and by metering for the foreground, metering for the sky, the difference will be 1, 2 or 3 stops.
Jeremy, how do you actually meter for this then? How do you work out which Grad to put on the camera?
Okay, so we know which Grad we're going to look at. You meter for your foreground, so all you do, point the camera down, meter for your foreground. In this instance, it's 125th of a second at f11.
Right. So
you then meter for your sky. So all you do, move the camera, point it at the sky, and you meter, so just meter through there, and it's 500th at f11. So 500th to 250th to 125 is 2 stops. So you need a 2-stop filter. Okay, easy. But don't forget, you then have to recompose your image. So just bring the camera back down and recompose, and then to put the actual 2-stop filter onto the front of the camera, you need the Lee adapter ring and the Lee filter holder. The adapter ring is just a metal disc, but the easiest way to put that onto the lens is to take it out of the holder and just screw it onto the front there. Okay, and then the holder will just clip into there like so. Okay, so that's nice and secure. Okay,
so you'd have a different ring according to what lens you had on.
The beauty of the system is if you have different size, different diameter lenses, you only have to buy the adapter ring and not a new filter or a new holder for every lens. Okay Deb, so what we're going to do, the holder is on, so we're going to look at putting the Grads in. It's very simple. Grad's kept in a very nice little pouch, and in the middle is my 0.6, which is a 2-stop hard edge Grad. Okay. And very simply, with either live view or through the viewfinder, the filter goes into a slot. Make sure you don't cross slot them so they are parallel. And through the viewfinder, I'm a bit old-fashioned, so I like to use the viewfinder rather than live view. All I do is slide the Grad down until the Grad line on there is showing through the viewfinder. If you'd like to have a look, you will see where the Grad is now sat on the horizon. Okay, and the Grad will stay in there with friction, so you can let go and it won't fall through. Okay, so all you do is lower your Grad. Now what the Grad is doing is in effect is darkening the sky. The sky was 2 stops brighter than our foreground, so the filter is making the sky 2 stops darker than it really is, and you're balancing the exposure of the foreground with the sky. So all we need to do is mirror up, protect the lens and the filter, and fire. And then on the back of the screen you can now see that the foreground is the same as the sky, purely by the use of the Grad. Now that we've balanced the sky with our foreground and we've got a perfectly exposed picture, just to make the shot a bit more interesting, we're going to use the Lee Big Stopper, which is a 10-stop filter. It's not neutral, it has a blue cast to it, which we can overcome by adjusting the white balance. But what you have to do with the Big Stopper is you do everything normally first. So you meter it, you focus, you put the Grad in, because you cannot see through the big stopper. Okay, a lot of people will try and autofocus through the big stopper and they wonder why the camera doesn't work, and it's because the lens is trying to focus all the time. So we've done everything already. We've got the Grad in, we've exposed, so we just need the big stopper. Big stopper comes in a protective tin, and as you can see, it is totally and utterly black. You cannot see through it, okay? The big stopper will increase your exposure, so anything that's moving will become blurred. So the water will become milky and misty, the clouds will blur through and give you motion and movement. The filter must go in the slot that is nearest the lens, okay? Which is that slot there. Very delicate. We've got a Grad in place, we've got to be very careful we don't move the Grad. But the big stopper slides down, so it's equidistant top and bottom. That is now covering the whole thing. Now I said it goes blue, it's not neutral, it does go blue. So to combat that blueness, on the camera white balance setting, you want to go to 10,000K, which is incredibly orange, and that will neutralise the blueness of the filter. So on the Nikon, I just press the white balance button on the back of the camera, and as you can see on the back of the camera, it's now going up to 10,000K, which is there. Okay. The other thing to be aware of is because you're doing such a long exposure, light will still come through the viewfinder into the mirror box and it can fog the image. So you have to be very careful.
You almost have to seal the whole camera,
so you've got to seal the whole camera in a way. So you certainly want to put a cloth, a baseball cap, or if you've got a little rubber cap on the strap, or on the Nikon, there's a shutter there, but you want to stop the light going through there and everything's light.
Does it make a big difference if you forget to do that?
Yeah, you can fog and get a red stripe. Okay. Now the exposure is very, very simple because we're blessed with 10 fingers. So from 125th of a second, 10 stops, a 60th of a second, 30th, a 15th, an 8th, a quarter, a half, 1, 2, 4, 8 seconds. So you're just doubling and halving things all the time. So 8 seconds, so we need to set the camera to 8 seconds. Camera's now set to 8 seconds, so all we need to do is mirror up, and just to protect the filter and the camera from the high sun, just shield the top of the filters and fire for 8 seconds. Now, of course, you can do any length of exposure. Later in the day you'll be into 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, 4 minutes. And now, as you can see, we've got a perfectly exposed shot on the back of the camera. Okay, yeah, the sky is perfect because we're using the Grad, and we've now got lovely blurry water and a bit of movement in the clouds, which is because of the big stopper. And that's how you make the shots a bit more interesting. When perhaps the light isn't as good as it could be, you can just give a bit more interest to your picture by using the big stopper. Really nice scene here, woodland interior, path running off into the distance. We've metered, we've got a lot of top light coming in, and so we just need to see which filters will enhance our picture.
So what do you think is the best filter for this scene then?
For here, for woodland interior, the soft Grad, the Lee soft edge Grad as opposed to the hard edge Grad.
Why is that?
The hard edge Grad will certainly leave a line through the middle of the trees. It will be light tree, dark tree. The soft Grad is so soft it will just run up through the trees into the horizon, and you won't notice the change, but it will affect the sky and the exposure in the sky. So we'll look at the soft edge Grad to start with, and then to boost the colours we'll look at a warm-up filter as well. But to start with, soft edge Grad. It's a bit cold, yeah. The light is beginning to go, so we just want to sort of give the colours a bit more warmth, a bit more oomph. So first things first is the soft edge Grad.
Okay.
So soft edge Grad, as you can see, nowhere near as hard as the hard edge Grads, much subtler, okay? Yeah. So all you have to do is into the holder and looking through the viewfinder, just take it down. If you want to have a look through, we've got a sort of a horizon where the trees go light to dark. And also the filter doesn't have to be absolutely level. We have a line through the trees that's at an angle, so the filter can go at an angle. So we've metered, we know the sky is that little bit brighter, so all we have to do now is mirror up, and always just protect the top of the filter because there's a lot of top light. and we can now see we've got a shot where the sky is that bit better, but we've got no lines running through the trees. But the colour's a bit dull, so we need to warm the shot up. So with an overall filter, we've got an 81A. It's a slight yellowy brown tinge to it. So if we just look through against the leaves and stuff, it just gives it that bit more warmth. So again, with the Grad, slide it down, make sure it's covering the whole of the lens, and that will take approximately 1/3 to 2/3 of a stop exposure. So you just need to open the camera up 2/3 of a stop, and again mirror up, protect the filters, and as you can see, compared with the previous shot, much warmer, much richer, and the colours are much nicer. We're going to do something slightly different now, Deb. Earlier on we were using a holder with 2 slots on. We're now going to use a holder with 3 slots on. So you can use more Grads, more filters, more coloured filters. So it goes on exactly the same way as before. And we've already metered, so over to you.
My go now then.
Put the Grads on.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a hard one. 9 Grad hard.
Hard edge Grad, because we've got Corfe Castle here in the background, and there's a beautiful straight horizon,
okay, so
relatively straight horizon.
Closest to the camera,
closest to the camera. And just look through the viewfinder, bring it down to your horizon.
Yep, done that.
And if you're happy with that, so if we now use a 0.6 soft Grad, so we're going to put a soft edge Grad on, as well as our hard edge Grad.
Next slot over.
Yep. Okay, you've got to be very careful, because this side you've got it in the front slot, that side you've got it in the middle slot. So if you just pull the filter out, it's a very easy mistake to make when you're using more than one slot. And again, if you look through the viewfinder, you'll see where the Grad comes down.
Yep.
So we're now blending a hard edge and a soft edge Grad to get that lovely gradation in the sky. And because it's quite sort of cold, not much colour, to liven up the greens and give us some oomph to the sky, we're going to use a Coral 6 Grad.
That's one. Now, wouldn't you have problems with vignetting?
You're okay, depends on your focal length. We're at 35mm, so 3 slots isn't going to vignette. If you were using a 16mm, yes, you would actually start to vignette. And what we're doing here, if you slide it down a bit more, we're actually using a Grad filter, but we're using the whole of the colour space over the lens.
And I can see that warms it up straight away looking through here.
Yeah.
So that's great.
And what we're going to do is just adjust the exposure very slightly, because the coral will take about 1/3, 2/3 of a stop out of the shot. So we just need to, on the camera, just increase the exposure on there to compensate for the filter. And then it's just a question of, don't forget, protect the top of the filters from any sunlight.
Forgot that.
Yep, that's good.
And click.
That's the mirror up, and the second click is the shot. And then we check the back of the camera, and we check the histogram. And everything looks really good. We've got warmth in the shot, we've got depth, we've got detail in the sky, and we've brought mood to the shot, which is what we're trying to do.